Hey there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. I've got a little halo on there, but this is what it used to look like. Grabbing some archives here, September of 2020. Orchland Farmer Home, now known by Tractor Supply. This was a great looking issue. Had Mr. Ron on the cover, Volsky. He's on my board too. And anyway, this was, let's see how big this was. This was 160 pages, just chock full of stuff. And always nice to hold a magazine in my hands. We went digital in August of 2021. This is me and my old guys lacrosse team. I'm looking kind of gray there, but anyway, I always like to look like what I was doing back then. My hair's pretty gray there. I was just, I think I needed some water. I was looking pretty rough there. That was a long game in the heat in the summer. But anyway, we're digital now. Had about 7 million people hit the website last month and 330,000 unique users. So it was great printing the magazine, but I don't miss the post office. I don't miss the printer. I don't miss any of those guys. It's been an amazing transformation. Best thing I ever did. And it's always nice when you can make a positive out of a negative. So I'm sitting here on a Monday. It is hot and humid in the ATL and very, very hot. And we had rain all weekend. We hadn't had rain for several weeks, and I live up by the lake. And we always like when we can keep the lake full. So we'll take all the water we can get. It could rain a couple days a week. I wouldn't care. We just want to keep water in the lake. And anyway, it's really, really hot. And I do about 5 or 6 miles at the end of the day. So after I'm done with this, it's time to put the running shoes on and go sweat. So um, the heat is waiting for me, and I'm waiting for it. I'm taking it on. So with that said, I've got, listen, there are some really powerhouse firms that are out there and they're very diverse. But today I've got two individuals. I've got Pam Paddock. She's the managing director with JLL's Life Sciences Work Dynamics Division. And she focuses on leading the medtech and med device and CDMO sectors. And I also have Andrew Quirk. He's the institutional industries lead for JLL Project and Development Services, and he's over life sciences, healthcare, and public institutions. So Pam and Andrew, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hello, all. Nice to be here. Thank you, David.
Thanks, David. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you finding the time in the dog days of summer in the middle of July and almost finishing the first month of Q3 and going into the second half of the year. And the way this is going to work, so we're going to do our interview in three parts. Each one of you will tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, married, kids, what have you, and then how you ended up at JLL. Then we'll talk about lessons learned from the last 3 or 4 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on. And then any cool projects or services that you have in each one of the divisions that you're in. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, your contact info, and then we'll finish up. So with that said, the floor is yours. Pam, ladies first. I'll start with you.
Thanks, David. It's a pleasure to be here. My story, let's see. I'm going to start way back. My formative years in going into the business and the rather long career that I have had, I'd say at about 5 years old, I was spending many of my days playing in the hardware stores that my family owned. I remember spending hours standing amongst the tools and figuring out what they all did. And when I think about, what's that formative moment when I learned to put a nut and a bolt together, putting things together, I would spend hours putting them together and taking them apart again and seeing how things would fit or work differently. So fast forward, I went to school at Smith College, and I knew that I was not going to study as an undergrad what I was going to do for my career. So I focused on learning how to learn and taking all of the information that I could get and creating new thoughts. And moving on from there, I moved into a career at Columbia University in the city of New York. And I was responsible for putting services together. So continuing my putting it together theme, I had to put services together that would work for our scientists, all kinds of scientists, from philosophers to physicists and chemists, and how we could make their facilities work better for them. Ultimately, I went on to get another degree at NYU in construction management, and I started putting buildings together. And so I built some big buildings and did some very large capital improvements for the university. Ultimately getting my MBA at Columbia and moving on almost immediately thereafter to JLL, where I started putting teams together to serve our clients and serve their needs. And ultimately, after a few years, had the opportunity to put a business together. Our life science business started in 2007. I got in on the ground floor and helped manage our way through into quite the robust business that we are today. And now I put work together for clients and help support others who are coming on that journey of putting success together for our clients and for our teams, because our people are what we have. They are our resources, and making sure that people have a really good career and can put their own lives together is really a big part of what we do.
Did your parents, did they just have the one hardware store, or did they have
We had multiple.
Yeah, so you had a retail background then.
Yes. Yeah. We're definitely weren't a Home Depot, but fun, really fun stuff. Great learning.
I grew up outside of Philadelphia in Pottstown, and there was the hardware store on the main street, Leblang's hardware store. And I can remember going in there with my family's been in demolition construction since 1888, so it's multi-generational. And as one of the grandsons, when in Pennsylvania, get your license at 16. Down here in Georgia, you get it at 15, but anyway, up there at 16, all the grandsons all had to go work in the scrapyard. And I did so, but I grew up down at the yard playing in the trains, but I always remember going with my grandfather because we always were building something at the house or doing something, and we go into Mr. Leblang's hardware store, and it was one of those old stores where they had stuff everywhere. I mean, it was just, they knew where everything was, but it was like a mausoleum of just
amazing stuff. And in fact, I think that my early appreciation for architecture came from one of those, row stores in a canal town. Just fantastic architecture. And I just remember I loved how the stairs creaked as I walked up to the attic space.
Well, going into Uncle L's hardware store, it was like a candy store to me. I still have my my Electro set, with all the nuts and bolts, and it
Love it.
construction's in my blood. But going there, it was like a kid in the candy store, because he would be talking to my grandfather, and I would just wander up and down the aisles and go, "What the heck does this thing do? Or what is that thing?" So. But some of the stores are still alive out there, but many of them have been gobbled up, and nothing wrong with Home Depot. I mean, I moved to Atlanta right when they were building about 140 stores a year, and I had on my first cover when I left Nielsen and went out on my own, and so I'm in Atlanta, and we know who THD is, and but it back in the day, before the big boxes were even a word. It was that single store that was down, and they knew everybody, and you went if you needed
The relationship.
oh yeah, it was awesome. So, well, what a nice story, Columbia, NYU, JLL, and you built a division. So that's awesome. Congratulations to you, Andrew. You're up. Tell us your story.
I'm up, and just listening to that whole story about hardware stores, that flooded back a bunch of memories. I remember going to hardware stores with my dad, and he used to love going to hardware stores. And so when I was a kid, and just popped into my head as you guys were talking about that, is hardware stores, the old style, had a smell to them. And it was something about, I'm not sure what it was, but I just have that ingrained in my head. So thanks for sharing that with me. So a little bit similar to Pam, I grew up in northern New Jersey in a town called Ridgewood, which is a suburb really of New York City, and commuter town to that area. And my whole family was in the health science sector, either nursing or research. And so it kind of was in my DNA, thinking back to this, that somehow I was going to end up doing something in those worlds. I didn't really quite know what. And so I think when I was little, I started thinking, I'm going to be a surgeon, because I always liked, like Pam, understanding how things went together and worked, and how you could fix things. And then it started to creep into my kind of social side, I guess, and just being a kid, and earlier than that. And my parents used to buy me those little Matchbox cars, for anyone that remembers those. And so I had a big collection of them, loved playing with them. And so every Christmas, birthday, I would get these cars, and I'd immediately go into the basement, and I would take a sledgehammer and a crowbar and just start dismantling these brand new cars. And one day my dad was like, "What are you doing with these brand new cars?" And I said, "Hey, these are pretty cool, but I want to make my own car and create my own vision of what this should be." And so that, I don't know why I did it, but it just kind of came into my head. And so that's kind of been how I've looked at my life and career and education. So I continued along that kind of creative side, and put aside being a surgeon, and decided that I wanted to be an architect, and put things together and solve problems. And so that led me to go to Pratt Institute in New York. And so I graduated there with a bachelor's of architecture degree, and went and took my exams right away and passed those. And so I became a registered architect in New York. And tying back to my family, it was interesting. I ended up being an architect at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. And so I thought that I was going further and further away from, as I was in school, to what my DNA was kind of about, with my family and the sciences, and then found myself right in it. And I loved it. It was an intoxicating environment, of the fact of being able to, because they did science there, they had research, and they also had a hospital and took care of people. So I got to see both sides of the coin. And I remember back to the very first project I was ever on at Sloan Kettering, and I got to do everything from the very beginning to the very end. And so I had to go and create a program with the research scientists and the end users, the physicians. Then I had to find a solution and have some drawings done, and then I had to go in the field and manage it and watch it getting built. And then I had to do post-occupancy reviews after it was done. And so the thing that, it was very cool for me, being fresh out of school, to have that responsibility. The thing that I remember to this day vividly is walking into the space that once was in a clinician's and a researcher's brain of, I have a problem and I need you to fix it, to going down through into my brain and through my arm and hand, and this will date me a little bit, onto paper at the time, in the mid 80s, and drawing a solution, then seeing it come up out of the ground three-dimensionally. And then the kicker was to actually see people utilizing what was once in my head, and how it was going to affect people at some stage in their life, whether it was a good point or a troubling time or at the end of their life. Very intoxicating. And that feeling has stayed with me throughout my career. And in my career, I've been an owner on the owner side. I've designed science and laboratories in healthcare. I've developed them, and I've also built them for the 34 years that I've been in this industry. And so it's really all been about solutioning problems outside of the box, and challenging the norm, and making sure that we're providing value back into what we find. And so fast forwarding today, I spent my career in all of those boxes doing that same thing. And JLL provided me an opportunity to put all of those things together in one location. And so now I can manage architects. I can solution with clients and help them ideate really what they need and challenge them. I can put together teams and diverse backgrounds and try to come up with unique solutions. And so it's really a tremendous opportunity to do what I love and help others really see what they can do and what their needs are in the health and science sectors.
The my mother's father, my grandfather, he had a whole wing at the hospital in Pottstown, and anyway, he they were always involved with healthcare and all that stuff in the hometown. And then my father passed in 78. My mom was remarried. But anyway, my stepdad, he was chairman of the board of Sloan Kettering in Dayton, Ohio, also of Miami Valley Hospital before all the
Oh
mergers
yeah,
happened and all
I've
that
done
stuff.
work at both.
Yeah. So anyway, his name was Fred Weber. Maybe maybe he's probably on the wall someplace. But anyway, I just remember he was the COB, and he was all about uh just in the building side of it and the operation side, all of that
Yep,
stuff. So we used to go to dinner, and they would bring up topics, and so I've gotten kind of from both of you, both you got a retail background, architecture. The biggest thing is architects. People have they don't have a in the day, architects years ago, they're designers. They've got the vision. But now it basically architects, interior design, contractors, facility maintenance professionals, they're all tied to the hip. I mean, it's not just you're not just on the design time. You're part of a team, and you're part of that construction sector. And I had a project management firm once. Your finger is basically the life cycle of a business, of a facility. Your fingernail's probably the construction, and the remainder of that is the facility maintenance,
absolutely.
the main, and whatever new, cool products come up and so forth, and implementing them. And hopefully that building has a long life cycle.
Yep.
And but the architects really, the ones that I talked to today, they're not just designers, they're not just business development. They're just they're tied to that hip, to that construction department or the facility department or the real estate department, depending on how the owner is set up interior. And they're all the way through the project. I mean,
Yeah.
they're on the front line, just like everybody else is, to get the project done. So it's been amazing. As I'd say, I've been a publisher for almost 25 years, but I've been in construction, like I said, I grew up with it. So as I looked at it, uh, you had the best of all worlds, because you had that design, you had that other early stages of your life where you can
Yeah.
take things and apply it. And now at JLL, in each one of your divisions, you're you have a good foundation to be able to help everybody that you work with. Am I correct on that
I,
assumption?
I appreciate you saying that. And you're spot on. That reminded me of a conversation. My daughter ended up following me to Pratt for fine arts, and when she was going for her induction there, I got to meet the chancellor of the university, and I said, "Oh, I'm a proud graduate, and I'm 30 years into my career, 20 years into my career," and he said, "Oh, wow, that's really exciting. Love to hear that. Love to see Pratt grads out there." And he said, "But let me ask you something. What did you learn while you were at Pratt?" And I thought, wow, that's a big question. And I don't know why, but it popped in my head. I said, "You taught me how to think." I came in with a creative background, but you taught me how to think. And that's something that you just mentioned there, that the thinking about how to solution and bring people together and converse with all types of people on walks of life and backgrounds, and that's again what Pam and I do, and that's what we focus on. It's really exhilarating.
Well, they're both really, really fantastic stories. I love the retail background, Pam. That's awesome. Hardware, and then Andrew, following your family's footsteps, and here you are years later, and your daughter followed you too. So that's really awesome. Like right now, I've just broke ground on my empty nester house. I bought a piece of land back in 2020, and or sold the trophy house. I think that's my fifth or sixth house down here. I don't know. I've been in Atlanta since '92. And anyway, saw everything get built. The Olympics, it's
Yeah.
just, it's been amazing here to see what's been built. But we're building this house ourselves, and my wife's an interior designer. She does a lot of residential. It's a little light commercial. Anyway, she designed the house, and we just broke ground. And we cleared the lot. The engineer came out and did the stakes, and then we were getting ready to, I knew we had to bring in some dirt. but you can look at blueprints and CAD drawings all day long. But
Oh,
unless
yeah.
you go out and look at the site and look at it, so we knew there was a slope. And I was cutting the grass for years, because I had to keep the HO happy. I had to make sure that, there was no, the grass was cut 8 feet in off the street.
Sure.
So anyway, I knew that the land was sloped, but when they cleared all the trees, oh gosh, I mean, it was a good 25 feet down. So anyway, uh, I was up there meeting with the county and the municipality with the inspectors, and they're going through my 9 inspections that I needed, and the rebar, the footings, and all that for the foundation. Anyway, they left, and the guy's like, "Hey, you should stay here and watch me spray everything." So he's spraying. I'm like, well, "What is that right there?" He goes, "Oh, that's the corner of your basement." I'm like, "When are you going to dig?" He's like, that's your bottom. David, you got to bring in dirt. But you know what? I didn't realize how much dirt until I got it cleared. And I'm like, how many, we're talking hundreds of loads of dirt. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
called my wife up. I'm like, "Houston, we have a problem. You need to come up here." Okay. And so we looked at it, and we went through it, and just this morning, where is this thing? I just picked up my revised permit from the municipality this morning. I got my email, and I've been waiting like 3 weeks for it. So now I can get into finishing out the fill and starting my foundation. But it is it you know it. I told my wife, I said, this happens every day out on a
Yeah.
construction site, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, farms, whatever it might be. There's a give and take. So we just have to decide if we want to put the basement in that we're going to put in for my mother, or if we want to just get rid of it and go spend that money we're going to put on concrete foundation walls and all the drywall and the paint
Yeah.
and flooring and that 2,200 square feet that we're putting in down. We could go do another project. And so it was eye-opening, but it's
Oh,
amazing. You can look at technology, but still you can see in real life, you can go out and look at that and go, "Man, I can't, that we can't do this," or we could, but it would have been very, very expensive. But like I said, people deal with it every day. Like I'm in construction. I used to build this with paper and ink. Now I do it digitally, with the same way. But every month I put one of these out. I'm proud of it. I built it, and
yeah.
I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how big it is, but I have a vision. I have a good idea, and I do the same thing. I'm a constructor. I'm basically a content builder these days. I mean, call me what you want, but I'm a builder. And but like you, I took all of my things that I've learned over the years, and I've applied it to building my business. And I've got my lacrosse sticks. I was a hockey lacrosse player, but uh, sports taught me how to win and lose, and how to, and after your athletic career is over, you got to go out into the business world. And I had thick skin, and I knew I had to, I could handle it. And getting barked at, by all the coaches, whether it was on the green lawn or on the frozen pond. But it everything that you do in life, as you look back, you can take those things, and all of those things molded you so you could be a success, whether it's at JLL or when you were at NYU or what have you. So kudos to both of you. So let's talk about, 3 or 4 years ago, March 2020 comes, there's cranes in every city I visited, and everybody's booming, and then kaput. Now it's 3 to 4 years later, we're out of the tunnel. There's still some, potholes or hindrances, obstacles in the way. And right when that happened, there was just a barrage of life sciences, labs that were getting built. And I actually put a healthcare section in my magazine. And a lot of the content that we're doing were on these was in that life sciences sector. I mean, it's just booming. It's like data centers.
Yeah.
Those categories are unbelievable. I mean, hospitals, they take years to build. But when you're talking about, your divisions, they're a little smaller projects, but they're very intricate. I'm sure most of them have high line surfaces and materials and all of that, but they've got to be perfect. And my son worked at Boeing for 3 years, and we took a tour of the Charleston plant. He was working on the 787, and I swear we went into the plant, and it was like a surgical center. It was so
Oh,
clean and clear, and the biggest thing was, no accidents and all that, just like any construction site. But it was really, really cool to see that there are companies out there that take that serious issue that life sciences has to deal with probably every day. So I'm going to let each one of you, I'm going to come to Pam here, um, talk about, what you see on the horizon since, within your division, and maybe some of the lessons that you've learned over the last couple of years that our listeners out there, might find of interest.
Yeah, so thanks. First I want to say knowledge is power, right? So what you experienced with your own property and what we experience every day. I'm a bit of a data geek myself, and so building performance management off of business intelligence, we've been able to hone in on that quite a bit, pandemic and post-pandemic, in ways to help our clients. But what happened, of course, in the pandemic is that many people who worked in offices went home to work. Well, scientists and people at their laptops and their fume hoods and people in the manufacturing environment, they didn't go home. They were there throughout. And so parts of the facilities that were so critical never stopped functioning, and we never stopped serving the needs. And then as things began to change and re-normalize, it's about helping find opportunities to right size, to get to that new normal, to look at what, as much as I think that there were initial hopes that all office activity would return to normal. It's a slow process, and I would say that it's not even quite there yet. And so that affects every business in a different way. And our ability is to help. One of our sweet spots of abilities is to help our clients understand what to do, what can be different, and how to refresh. Thinking about what Andrew has to do every single day is help our clients reimagine their workspace. In particular, the war on talent is so significant right now that every amenity in a space, the flavor of the space, the feel, the look, how easy a space is to work in, are critically important to our clients. And that's what they're asking us for, and how do we help them continue to stabilize and to move forward into the future.
I presume most of your clients that you were dealing with, they were March essential. Am I right on that? Or
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the word.
most of your clients were essential, deemed as essential.
Yes, that is true.
So
There were
those
very
projects,
few.
whatever, they were going regardless. It was just
That's correct.
depending on what state you were in. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah, I think I liked your story actually about your house and having to balance your site, and it presented some challenges, and you're right that we look at that and see that every single day on projects, and I like to kind of flip the table a little bit and say, well, that's a project opportunity. And so with every challenge, there's an opportunity or two or three. And so that to me is, coming out of the past couple of years, I think it was a forced pause, if you will, in the industry, where it actually gave everyone, aside from all the negative things that were going on, it gave us an opportunity doing how we're doing it. And is there a better way to accomplish the things we need to accomplish? And as I think about that personally, that goes back to kind of the beginning of where I got started in that career of making something out of nothing, or making something out of something old, and recreating. And so I think that there's a huge opportunity right now, even in Pam's and my sector of life science. When you think of life science, you might think, oh, there's a pharmaceutical company or a manufacturing company. They are all different. They are global. They're national. They're local. They have different leadership styles. They have different products. They have different processes. And so every single project is completely different. So a lab is not a lab from one client to the next. A manufacturing site is not the same from one to the next. And so to me, that's exciting, because it's a reset every time you're brought a challenge of a project. And to me, it's an exciting time for opportunity. And so that period of reassessment, I think, is still going on right now. The other thing I always like to say is, especially in the past couple of years, there's no such thing as future-proofing anything anymore. And so again, I think the right way to say that is future enable everything. enable everything so that it can change, or you can pick up from where you were, or you can reimagine and rebuild and redesign quickly and without much problem in doing so. And so from that, I think one of the biggest things is perseverance. And so we all need to persevere. We all need to push through and reimagine things. And then the other thing that I think comes to mind for me is again, kind of back to the beginning of the career, is continuously look to make a difference. The different people, different needs, different structures. And I know Pam, as she goes through her daily business, it's looking to make a difference with our clients. How can we provide a return on their investment in us, but also in the industry? And how can we make a difference not only with our clients and the projects that they're asking us to get involved with, but make a difference, again, back to my original story, make a difference in the people's lives that they are in business for. So whether it's medicines or products, things like that, really, we can all make a difference at all levels. And so it's something I think it's a great opportunity right now for all of us to get involved with.
The whole thing with commercial real estate, with a lot of the big cities that are still under occupancy where they were pre-shutdown. And the amazing thing is that a lot of the people that didn't go back into the office, they worked at home, and then when they reopened up, they wanted to go to concerts, restaurants, do it, but they didn't want to go back to the office because they proved themselves that they could be more productive. And a lot of firms have to kind of juggle that. Okay, I've got this space, but I don't, my people have proved themselves, but I would like to, a lot of people in New York do hybrid, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday and Fridays, they don't come into the city. I mean, I grew up there, but I have a lot of buds that are in there, and they tell me, hey, if you're going to do an event, do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because Monday and Fridays it's not going to happen, especially in the summer. They're all going out to the Hamptons on Friday. So,
That's right.
but the biggest thing is that I don't look at it, as a negative. I look at it as something's going to happen if they don't fill that commercial real estate. What are they going to do with it? And
Yeah.
someone's going to go in there. Some of that stuff might become a lab. Some of it might become retail space. Some of it might become multi-housing, depending on what the plumbing is in the building and how old that building was. And so these are all the things, and you both being art, basically from that, architecture, construction side of things, is that uh, it's having that vision of what can be done there. And it's an exciting time to be in commercial construction, in my opinion, whether it's a new build or if it's a reuse of something else and making it into it, that, the architects, the people in the front end are going to determine. I mean, the contractor has some say, but really that architecture side of it is going to be the vision, and then someone's got to build it and then maintain it and keep it going. So it's an exciting time, and a lot of whether they're contractors, vendors, brands, whatever. Many of the people over the last couple of years said, I've had some of the best years of my company. Number one, I learned so much about my business and about my people, which are the most important thing. You can't do everything. There's only so many times in a day, so much time in a day, and you can't do it all. So learning that your people can do things, and that the companies that turned on a dime and were able to be flexible are probably sitting so much prettier as we go into the second month, almost into Q3. But the only thing that held them back was, God, if I had more project managers or superintendents, I could have bitten off more business and gotten it done. But as you know, if you don't have the people, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, because it's all about delivery, and you don't want to hold things up. So
Absolutely.
it's been it's kind of been a catch-22, but it's been a very exciting time for people that I've seen that have gone through there, and they weathered the storm, and they learned a lot about themselves, their people, and then actually their projects and how to get things done, and you become a little more flexible, and you don't get rattled by little, where maybe back in the day you would have gotten rattled, but now it's like, hey, I just went through 3 or 4 years of who knows what was going to go on, and here we are. So but what really, really, really great stories. I mean, it's it you two, not you're both in the same sector, but you have different backgrounds, and but you're on the same plane. You know where I'm coming from? So it's really, really a great story for each one of you. If I'll go back to you, Pam. Uh, what do you see as you go into your second half of 2024 into 2025 for your division? Anything cool going on there that you want to talk about, as far as projects go or stuff that's in the pipeline?
So there's lots coming, I think, into the pipeline. Plans are still forming. As I said, I really do believe this, knowledge is power. Our clients are leveraging what they have learned. They're helping us help them leverage what they have learned, and they are reacting to the environment. There is a lot going on for life sciences clients, in innovation, opportunity, and they have to be agile and flexible, just as we do in building their future. And it's gratifying every day when they let us help them go on that journey.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think everyone right now is being challenged to elevate their game. And so the example you gave of repurposing real estate is a good one because it's very real. There are many different uses, from residential, from offices to residential, to moving laboratories potentially into some of these buildings. And even at that look, the industry and clients are really challenging everyone to come up with the best possible space that's available. And so that's requiring everyone to kind of elevate where they once operated at. And it's involving things like it wasn't in our language 3 years ago or 5 years ago about carbon neutrality, things like that it's just AI. Those were things that just were not on anyone's radar. And so now clients are turning to us, as Pam said, and saying, okay, what is your experience in the carbon journey? How can you help guide us? What stories can you share with us? Efficiencies on square footage in buildings. How can we squeeze every square foot and make it have a return on our investment? What is your experience? How can you guide us? What people can you get us in touch with? So there's a real hunger for knowledge and solutions, I think, going on right now. So I mentioned around, carbon and AI. AI, I think, it's going to really affect in a good way life sciences. And I'm not sure anyone, futurists are great right now because no one can ever be wrong. But there are some really exciting things, I think, that can happen in the creation. I mean, look what happened during the pandemic and how quickly they came to a solution. So now fast forward to today, that's science and the use of AI is being implemented at terrific new levels, but that's going to affect our real estate environment. And what impact does it have? And what is it going to look like? Where is it going to take place? How do humans and robots work side by side with each other? Whole host of new questions and opportunities for us to start solving for. And the other thing I'll leave you with that I'm seeing, certainly on the construction and development side, is a further globalization of companies. And so, Pam and I find ourselves on many of the same projects with the same clients, and they're all thinking and acting more globally than they did in the past. And I think, for a firm like ourselves at JLL, where we are global, we are seeing diverse clients and diverse projects and diverse problems and diverse solutions. And so we have those examples to share and socialize across continents and share those stories and lessons learned to make better outcomes, back where we started the conversation. So it's a challenging time, certainly, but I think it's an exciting time for everyone to elevate the game and bring it.
Absolutely. If anybody's out there, on commercial construction coffee talk land, and if they wanted to, maybe they're thinking about doing a life science building, or maybe they're a developer and they've got a piece of property and they say, hey, could I put a life science, and they wanted to bounce some questions off either one of you, how would they reach out to you? Pam?
I am Pam.Paddock at JLL.com, or find me on LinkedIn.
There you go. Andrew?
Yeah, it's easy with at JLL. It's first name, last name. So it's Andrew.Quirk at JLL.com. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Listen, if you've got any questions out there and or if you're thinking about getting into the life sciences, et cetera, the cool thing about JLL is they own real estate, they own hotels, they own all sorts of buildings. They also maintain them with their project management services, and they've got the life science. They got a umpteen million divisions, and so they've got everything under the umbrella. Really good company to bounce things off of, do business with, construction projects. Even if you're not the primary, you can be, an add-on or what have you, depending on the way things are set up. So these two individuals are here for, to reach out to. So feel free. And, LinkedIn, that's where it all is, as far as I'm concerned. If you want to make contact, that's where I would go. If anyone wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, their publicist sent me a press release. I liked what it saw, and I reached back out, replied back. I said, hey, we'd like to have them on the podcast to talk about the life science, construction and what's going on. And this is how they got on here. So we're all about content. Don't judge a book by its cover. Send it to me. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we have umpteen million social media platforms, and we post all day long. And don't judge. Look, it could be an anniversary for your company. It could be a topping off of a building you were working on. It could be a new hire, a new product, what have you. We look at everything. And my turnaround time, my TAT, it's probably 24, 48 hours. But if we do post it, we send you the URL. It's a win-win. It improves your SEO, which is your search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And and like I said, we're all about it. So send it to us, and who knows? You might end up in the magazine. You might end up with the podcast. You'll definitely end up on the website, because we post everything every day, 7 days a week, 365. So as we finish up here, I'll go to you first, Pam. If you had one positive thought or phrase that you'd want to leave with our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk, what would it be?
So in the form of advice, I would say lean in to ambiguity and challenge. Leverage the sinews of everything that you have personally built, and you will be amazed at what you can build and put together over and over again.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, my first boss that I ever had, first week that I was employed, he said, hey, I'm going to give you some advice. And I thought, okay, here it's coming. He said, always do the right thing, especially when no one is looking. And so beyond the obvious of ethics and values, which are important and shouldn't be forgotten, I kind of took it as always being curious, be creative, and never settle. Always push and always look for to better things. So I continue to approach from that vantage point, and will continue until the day I retire.
Awesome. I like the ambiguity, and I definitely both of those. Listen, every day when I go out and do my 5, 6 mile trek, uh, at the end I go up to the pickleball courts to cool down, because my wife doesn't like me coming in sweating and dripping, and so I do a little 5, 8 minute video. I talk about my day, but I always leave a positive thought. And my thought yesterday was. Uh, uh, how did it go? It was uh, fit is not a size, it's a feeling. And you got to, it's just like trying on a pair of shoes. You're between a 9 and a 10. Sometimes it's going to be too small, sometimes it's going to be too big, but it might not have the right size, but it feels really good. And that's the way I look at construction, architecture, facility maintenance, real estate in general. You got to have that feeling, that, hey, this doesn't look right. Or just like in my own land, when I went up there and looked up, oh my God, there was like I got punched in the gut when I was up there, but it was a feeling. And so fit is not a size, it's a feeling. And that's the way I'll leave it with you. So along with your ambiguity and I listen, you should always do the right thing. You don't need a cheering section. That's just character in my book. So,
Exactly.
what a great way to do it. So, as we finish up here, everybody, a couple things. If you're out on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your spouse, your partner, your wife, your husband, your kids, the dogs, the turtle, whatever, and be able to get some REM sleep and get up and be able to do it the following day. Number two, it's still summertime. Okay, you got to stay hydrated out on the site. The athlete in me, when you get dehydrated, you get headaches, you make mistakes, you get hurt. Same thing on the construction site. If you don't stay hydrated, you're not putting the electrolytes in your water bottle or whatever, stay hydrated, keep your body liquefied. You're going to feel better. You're going to sleep better at night. Trust me on this. Last but not least, hit the like button. So the algorithms out there, on YouTube, that they'll find this episode and they can hear, Pam and Andrew's story and so forth. So pleasure meeting you both. When I come up north, I look forward to meeting you. Maybe you could take me out on one of your projects. It's been a while since I've been in a life science building and so forth. So it'd be really cool to see one, being developed or maintained or whatever's in your repertoire there. So with that said, Pam, say goodbye to our listeners out there at Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below the Buford Dam on Lake Lanier. It's about 25 miles north of downtown Atlanta. And everybody, have a great rest of the week and enjoy the rest of the summer. School starts here in about 2 weeks, so the yellow buses will be on the streets here in the south, but up north doesn't happen until after a Labor Day weekend. And stay cool out there. It's really hot. And like I said, stay hydrated. So with that said, thank you both. Awesome stories. And everybody out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, we will see you next time. So signing off. Thank you so much. Andrew, Pam, pleasure. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.